Morning we talked about Women in Alignment Wednesday, and we were talking about education. So we were talking about educating your kids and taking the time to educate your kids because right now we know that there is, we're in a pandemic. Some states are starting to release masks and say you don't need to have them no more. All of a sudden, it's like no reason to even have one. Um, uh, so it is just really interesting how things are panning out, and people have already spoke to this and said that, of course, after election, then there won't be any mask anymore, and then all of a sudden everybody's vaccinated and everybody's good. So there, everything is always planned. There's always a thought and plan on something. But moving right along, you guys better stay safe because we know people who have passed away, and that it has affected them, and it's real. So education, as we said, is education is key, and education is hi cousin, how you doing? Is a wonder. So of course, we're on Haps right now, so I have to use the phone in order to know who's on here, but I'm sure that's Latina or it is Daphne. So hey cousins, how you doing? Oh, okay, that's Latina. Hi Latina, how are you doing? Oh, look who we got. Shoshana, 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 Shoshana. Hi Shoshana, how you doing? I miss you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Hopefully you're staying safe and good over there. So we are here tonight, and we were talking about. Hi, Princess. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a long time either. So it's good to see everybody. We're talking about women in alignment, and we're talking about being in alignment as women, and being in alignment, and in regards to who you're working with, who you're talking to, and being sure that you're in alignment with what it is that you say that you're going to do, and that you're doing what you're going to say. Hi, little mama. How you doing? So those are things that we're covering, but we're also talking about education and educating your kids. As we know, hi, that kids are not in regular school. Some kids are going to school. Some kids are going. They're hybriding. They got sometimes they're in and then sometimes they're out. So schools are kind of moving into getting kids back into some type of normalcy. But the one thing that we have to understand is that it's different. We already know that children of color are already set back. They're already marginalized. So now with this pandemic, they're even more so marginalized. You're fine? Well, good. I'm glad you're fine. They're more so marginalized because we have to realize that, tolerance levels for different people. And right now, there's so many things going on. You got the pandemic, you got life and death, you got riots, you got racial discrimination, you got systemic racism, you have just stupidity, and then you just have people who have checked out, cancel culture. You got everything. There's just so many things that's going on, and you still have the regular stuff. You still have child pornography. You still got child kidnappings. You still have people who are just doing just ridiculous stuff. You still have poverty. All that stuff is still there. It's all still there. Kidnaps. There's still drive-bys. There's still, violence. There's just still just a lot of things that's happening. So how are we educating? What are we doing to educate the kids? So we talked about this earlier today, this morning, and we were talking about education, and I was kind of, fussing at y'all a little bit, but not just y'all. I was just talking, but whatever. The thing is that we have to understand, we have to take the time to educate the kids because they're not doing it. The schools are not doing it. They have no time to do it. And as we were talking about, the kids are noticing that they're not even teaching them how to spell no more. They're not teaching them that. The kids don't know how to spell. They're not thinking about how to spell. And it's like the parents don't know how to spell either. And they are not teaching them how to spell. There's nothing. The games that used to be played that did a lot about spelling, like, what's that one? Scrabble. Scrabble is one of those games that, teach kids how to spell. You learn how to spell, but can they do something else about Scrabble? How can they make Scrabble better? Figure out how to make Scrabble better so that, it's not only, it's still teaching them how to spell, but, you add a little fun to it. Somebody need to come up with something. something that's teaching kids how to spell, teaching adults how to spell. We also talked about vocabulary, because when you get to a certain age, then they're not teaching you how to spell anymore. As far as they're concerned, if you haven't figured out how to spell by the fifth or sixth grade, then you done. Actually, cousin, you were talking about something on your on your post, that, or at least I saw on Reddit, that you were saying that kids who were struggling, I don't know if it was your post, but it was kids who were struggling. They're in eighth grade, but they still can't read fifth and sixth grade stuff. That's something. The kids have to read more. The kids need to read more because they need to learn how to have other vocabulary in the vocabulary. So, they have to learn how to read. So when you are teaching the kids, vocabulary, you're teaching them more words, we're teaching them more things, you have to do your part. You got to figure out what your part of everything is. And that's what you're going to have to do. Here, go over there with that. So that's kind of like what you have to do. Here, go over there with that before I throw it. So that's what you're going to have to figure out, how to do different things. And you have to figure out how to teach the kids more words, even with their everyday conversation. So when you look at that, you have to think about like things that are related to what they're dealing with. What are their subject matter? What are the things that that they talk about? And then earlier this morning, a young lady was asking, well, how do you make it fun? How do you make it fun? Hi, Shoshana, vocabulary critical, thinking, life skills. This is such a deficit. Yeah, it is. It's a real deficit because, first of all, some of the families don't even have, they don't have vocabulary and they don't have life skills. We know this, so let's not skirt around it. This is some real stuff. The parents don't have life skills. Some of the parents are dealing with issues that they haven't even learned. And not that they weren't taught, they just didn't learn. I don't think that was my post on yeah, I don't think it was either at this point. It was whose post was that? I have to go back because I had clicked on it and I agreed, because it is. It's sad that it was saying that a child was reading at an eighth grade level or fifth grade level, and they couldn't even read at the age that they were. And it's sad that kids are not reading at eighth grade or whatever grade level. They can't read at the grade level that they're in. Most people, as we know, are reading at fifth grade level, fifth and sixth grade. That's been going on for years, reading at fifth and sixth grade. So you're telling me that basically we haven't moved up in the reading vocabulary? They're still targeting things at fifth and sixth grade level. I mean, I don't know who they're targeting, but yes, that's kind of like what it is. They're still at that same level. So what are we doing to support the children in bringing up the reading level? How are we bringing up the vocabulary? What are we doing? I'm sure I can come up with a wonderful idea, but what are we doing, in our own households to bring up that level of, limit social media, and then we can make small changes. Yes, small changes is that, but what we also want to do is that, not that you can't stop any kind of addiction. You can. Prayer helps in some perseverance, but TV, video, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of them things are like addictions. People have them in their life. So sometimes you got to look at how can you utilize things that you're influenced by, how to get it to utilize it to make it work for you. What can you do? Those are things that you want to think about. What can you do to make it work for you? And that's kind of like the thing that what I'm looking at is how can you make that work? So can you do, I need to do more in my household. Yes, we do. And you do, I do, we all do. You have to make some decisions and you have to say no to something. Like we know that the kids, he's throwing whatever away. Um, we know that the kids have gotten used to doing certain things. And the thing is that we have to tell them no. Tell them no. No. You said I tell my kids to watch Spanish videos on YouTube. Huh? It's a love of learning for my mom. Made everything a learning experience. Didn't take it as a lot of money. No, it does. It doesn't take a lot of money, but it was fun. Yes, and that's what we have to do. Get back to the basics. Just the same as when when we were kids and when our family was what they were doing. They figured out ways to make things happen. They didn't have to have a whole bunch of expensive stuff and expensive things. Things were happening and things got done. So how and what can you do right now in your house to make something happen? Can you, I mean, even if you have to go get some, board games, I mean, or whatever, make your own game, make your own conversation, do something to enhance the children's vocabulary and their spelling. How do you spell that? It's sometimes what I see is that parents they've gotten lazy. They've gotten lazy and they've gotten tired. So and don't tell me about not being tired because I understand tired. I understand all of it. And I understand, you got this, you doing that, you doing that. I'm not going to sit here and try to put myself in there and tell you my story of what I was doing during different times of my life and what happened. You can read about it. And that's the thing. Kids have to see adults learning before they are convinced. It's the truth. They got to see you doing something. And when they see it, you doing it, it's like they see it and they know what it looked like. My kids that's all they've seen is me going to school, working. My grandkids, that's all they know I do. Grammy works all the time, and Grammy is either on his computer doing something. It was one, what I'm talking about? Hey, Hot Cat. We're talking about learning, reading, and making things happen. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about educating your kids, and not letting them just sit around and just do whatever they want to do. Disciplining your children and then teaching them because we have to. No one is doing it. You said who fussing? That's Jamelikai. They always do it. The minute I get on, they just want to start going and carrying on. And then I've gotten to the point I just zone them out because I got things to do. He got what he got, but then they just do it because they're right here when I'm doing what I'm doing. So then they just do what they do. You said I don't got kids, silly. Yeah. A lot of people don't have kids, but people who do. He doing it on purpose. Just ignore him. So that's the thing we got to look at. But we have to also understand that, as Latina said, is that kids have to see you doing it in order for them to understand. And not that all of a sudden, just because you're doing it, they're just going to jump and do it. You have to teach them. You have to create moments for them to learn. Because when they get older, they will appreciate it. They don't like it at the time. Do you like it? If you have to go and exercise and you have to start it, you're necessarily going to like it. Your body and your brain is persevering, is preserving itself. It's preserving safety. It's trying to keep itself safe. So it's not wanting to go do something that's going to be challenging, something that's going to be difficult for it. It's just not going to do it. It doesn't want to. So the thing is that we have to understand that when you know that you have to do some challenging things, your brain is going to tell you, no, don't do that. It's not a good time. That's going to be hard. And then people are going to come in your life and they're going to tell you the same thing. That's hard. How are you going to do that? Wow, that's a lot. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't do that. Isn't that crazy that people do that? We've all said it. People say they're about to go do 15 things or whatever. We'll say, wow, that's a lot. I don't know. You probably want to think about that. I really work on my best of not telling people that unless it's some reasonable stuff and I know it's crazy. But I'll just ask them questions, not necessarily tell them they can't do it. I'll just ask them questions just to see have they thought about that. And then it's more so like, wow, okay, well, you need a good plan. You know, we got to think about some stuff, you know, on, you know, making sure you can get that done. So those are things that you have to think about when we're talking about educating our kids. Now, the way you can ease your way into it, can you come up with 5 words that you can teach your kid and just say 5 words a week, 1 word a day? And the way you want to do this is you get the word, you teach them the word, you use that word, you practice that word all week, figure out how to keep it in your vocabulary and part of the everyday. And then after a while in a week, then they're going to have a couple of words that they know. They'll have a couple of words that they know and that they know how to use. Here, pick that up, Jolie. Pick that up. So when they have a bunch of words that they learn how to use and they're using them in a sentence and they're using it as part of their vocabulary, then it makes it so that you're building on it. So Cousin says, keep it simple at first. If the parents can't teach, try YouTube to learn. Exactly. You have so many free resources to use. YouTube will teach your kids everything. It's like a tutor. Yes, a bright idea. It's the truth. But it's like YouTube will teach them. You can go and teach your kids about the heart. Yeah, that's her dropping food on the floor. You got to teach them. They don't matter. You got to learn. You got to pick it up. But the thing is that you can teach them. You use have 1 word a day. Go and pick some words that's in their age group and higher and lower. So it's okay to do some lower because I'm sure they don't know those either. So let's just be realistic. Do your kids know every word that's in the 5th grade, capacity of things, their learning scale? Do they know the 6th grade stuff? No, they don't. They don't, because it's not something that they use all the time. Go find it. Ask the school district or something for the words that's a grade above and below. And then use those words in an everyday situation. Do your children know what a homonym is? Do they know what a synonym is? Do they know what a homonym is? Do they know what those are? Do they know how to use them? Do they know about words that sound the same, can be spelled the same, but they mean different? Do they know what that is? Ain't nobody teaching them kids that in school. So find 5 words. Use 1 word a day. Use it in a sentence with your kid. Figure out a way how to use that word all the time. Whenever you talk to them, sometimes your sentence might be a little longer than normal. So they get in the habit of learning how to use it. They hear it and they learn how to use it. Then they got to do it. Tell them to reciprocate. Learn how to use the words. Because if we don't start right now, it's going to be 5 years and then they're going to be in high school. Just like I've said about my grandson. It was like, in 5th and 6th grade, I was like, okay, he needs to learn how to do this. I started that one Facebook group that I called Stand and Deliver. I haven't even got to it yet. All them years done went past by now. 4. So life will get in the way in the sense of other outside things and kind of get in the way of things that you need to be doing. But at the same time, I was still doing it. And I was like, okay, if I don't do it all official and all the way I would love to, well, what is the other way I could do it? And that is using words, finding financial terms. So I had said I had bought these cards from Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I bought his financial cards about black billionaires. And I got those words, and we would like walk every day, and we would just walk and walk. Hi, Rosalind, how you doing? Zebra Pet. We would go through those words, and I would just say them over and over, and we would walk around the block, and we would just go over the words and what it meant. And it was all financial words, banking stuff, mutual funds, what is annuities, what is this, what is that, and we would go over it. But the thing is that after a while, the child will learn these words, and when they see them, they are familiar with them. They're not words that's totally out of their pay grade. So what's within your pay grade? How are you bringing your children to understand more stuff? Of course, yeah, they like to watch TV. Yes, they like to watch video games because you've done it. But how can you utilize those things? So like I said, I have a group. It's called Stand and Deliver. It is a paid group. It's paid. I'm telling you straight up. It is. It's a paid group. I'm not letting y'all join it just right now, because once I kind of get the things set up, then I will, and I'll put it out there. It's not going to be something that's too crazy, but it is going to have some teachers. I know some teachers. I know some tutor people. I know some people who just smart. You don't got to be a teacher to do this. Some of you guys didn't start teaching your kids. You've been teaching your kids for a year. Do you know that that's a year of teaching? Shouldn't we get a degree, a certificate for that? I think so. Who's in it? Just me. Well, somebody else was in it, but I cleared everything out. But it's a paid group. It's for kids and it's for adults. Because let's just be realistic, you guys. Some of us adults only got like 5th to 6th grade vocabulary. Don't be scared. Don't be embarrassed. That's normal. It's normal. So the group is going to be a paid group. It's a reading. It's called Stand and Deliver Reading Program or something like that. I forgot. But it's a reading thing, and it's for kids. Exactly. You said the right place for you. It's for reading, because adults, sometimes we're not sitting around learning every new word. And not that we're about to go and try to do all this extra. Yes, it's going to be, yeah, it's okay to be right with the kids, because we all have to learn, and we all have to learn and start somewhere. So it's going to be a reading thing, but it's really the primary thing for it is to help you get up and be able to stand and deliver. Yes, you're going to get some vocabulary. Yes, you're going to start out building up your vocabulary and words and how to use things in the sentence and how to make something happen. But it's also about getting up, reading, and being comfortable doing it. How many of you are accustomed to public speaking? A lot of kids don't have no public speaking experience. Who are they speaking in front of? They don't have that. Yeah, some of the kids can read more than adults. Yes, that's very true. They can. Some adults do not. I mean, some of us have family members who probably only went to the 8th grade or the 3rd grade or 5th grade. Now, if you went back south and you got somebody that's in their 70s and 80s, some of those people dropped out of school, because guess what they had to do? They had to work. They had to go to work. They couldn't go to school. So we are definitely appreciative that we are able to go to school and have some education. So in order for us to reinforce and support our children, we're going to have to do something. And that something right now is teaching our kids. It's giving them the vocabulary, helping them. And the only way we can do that is that we have to make some changes and some commitments. No, we don't want to get pregnant. No, thank you. You know, yes, right. Some people do. Yeah, the kids do. The kids, some of them are, and they're dropping out of school, and that's what's happening. We don't want to do that. We already know what that's the setup for. Now, of course, every person that ends up happening to doesn't always go down a rabbit hole, but on the statistical aspects of things, it is a high percentage that they do. So what we want to be able to do is what can we do to give back to our kids? Can you afford to give back an hour? Can you give 1 hour? Can you give 30 minutes? Even if you can give 30 minutes, can you stop your child for 1 minute and have them give 30 minutes, an hour? If you're teaching them one thing over and over and over. Hi, Tiffany. Hi, Tiffany. How you doing? Elegant Granny, how you doing? Hi, Elegant Granny. But if we can take 1 minute, 30 minutes to give back to our kids, some of the adults get pregnant and, of course, stop going to school. That's right. That's exactly what happens. Some of the adults, unfortunately, young adults get pregnant. They drop out of school, and then they become teen parents, and then they stop doing everything until one day they realize that they need to get back in there, and the only way that they can do it is by going to school. You're doing well? That's good. It's good to see you. So tonight we got Women in Alignment Wednesday, but you said you did. Look, Rosalind, I know. I was a teen mom too. I totally understand. I know the story. We can talk about it. So I'm totally understanding it. And as I was saying, is that until you realize that you need to get back into school and you need to get something done. She said, still trying to get used to this app. This is my first week here. Oh, okay, well, welcome. I mean, I've been here just since January 2nd. The 2nd of January is when I started. So it's already March, okay? It's March. It's crazy. So the thing is that we're talking about just, school education. Shoshana said, I have a friend who has read once a week to her daughter's class, started in kindergarten. The kids loved it and look forward to it. Yes, she's an attorney and never thought she would have that kind of impact. It's the truth. Kids love it. Adults love it. How many of you guys wouldn't mind if I just sat here and read a book to y'all? Okay, I'm glad you said that. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to read from The Smell of Poverty. This is our book, a book project that I came up with, and I got 16 authors who would like to be a part of it. But let me read you a little bit. I'm going to read you one of the first stories, which was by my girl and my friend, Marisa. Marisa is in the book. She's the first one in the book. Okay. We went by alphabetical order. We didn't go in way of, who was first and all that, because it wasn't about me. Okay, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Did you find my code? Girl, I don't know. What's up? What code? I done forgot. Tell me again. Okay, let me read you a little bit. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago, WI. I don't know what that means. A very beautiful country. Cool. I listen to an author on YouTube each week reading from her book. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm going to read just a little bit. But this isn't my story. And she said, a beautiful country full of strong and vibrant people, a land full of natural resources, a multicultural country full of delectable foods, straw rum, and culture. My name is Marisa Alexis Luis, and this is my poverty story. I was born in 1970. I'm the second of three, which makes me the middle child. My sister Avery was the oldest, and that leaves my brother Marlon as the baby. In 1970, there were time of was a time of change, and during that time, America was experiencing major development, especially in the South. My father at the time was blessed with opportunity to learn a trade and become a well sought after craftsman. So much so that he was hired and received a visa to travel to St. Croix in the United States Virgin Islands to work and form. From there, was promoted and received an offer with Brown and Root to relocate to Texas and to work in the refineries, which at the time were welders and other craftsmen were in high demand. My parents decided it would be best if my mom stayed in Trinidad until my dad got settled and found housing suitable for the family. During the time we lived with my maternal grandparents, and it was then I bonded with my grandparents so much so that when my mom traveled to Texas, she left me with them. I didn't mind because they were loving and kind to me. Plus, staying with them gave me a love for my culture and for my country that I would not have gotten if I had left the country and with my mom and siblings. So, not that I'm read the whole thing and everything, but her story is really nice. I really like reading hers because as she reads, she goes on. She talks about a young boy that she's seen when she was growing up and when they moved to Texas from Trinidad, and she talks about seeing this young child that was being, abused by the mom, and she talks about poverty, and she said, my second encounter with poverty happened when I was 6 years old. I remember looking out the window into my neighbor's home. I could see her beating her son so badly he began bleeding. She cursed at him and beat him until I just couldn't watch it anymore. I asked my grandmother, why is she treating her son that way? And she told me to mind my business. I continued watching this event quite frequently, except for beatings would go on from one child into the next child. She made it all 8 children, and then she would start all over again. So the thing is that reading is one of those things that I remember when I was young and when I first was really learning how to read. And when you reading something and you don't really know it as well, you get a little discouraged and you're like, wow, am I going to learn how to do this? Am I going to learn how to read? And coming from the fact that if you have a parent that isn't, their education level is not as high, and they can't really read or read as well, that will stifle the development of the child. And when you're looking at developmental things, how the parent is able to how the parent interacts with the child will definitely determine that child's ability to be able to learn and to grow based on how that parent is and what the level of understanding for the parent. So we have to understand that the level of the parent and when the parent knows of what they don't know will impact the child's abilities to do what they need to do. So we have to understand when the parent is in a depressive state, or if the parent is in a situation, we know that that affects the child because the parent's interaction with the child and the parent's correlation and how they interact with their children is where the impact of how that child's abilities is to grow. If the parent is feeling that they're incapable of doing things, then they move that and that spreads off into the children because the children don't have the capacity to make any kind of differences or pivots in any kind of way. They can't do that. So it is our role as individuals and as parents to help them. So when you see them and they're, even if they're doing nothing, throw a couple words at them. Say a couple of things. Even if you haven't built up that capacity to find that time to do it, then just say a couple things. Go find a couple of words and just say, say the words to them and just say, hey, what's this word? If we don't start somewhere, we won't start at all. If we won't start somewhere, then they won't be able to do what they need to do. So In order for that to happen, we have to start somewhere. And as I said, I have this group. It's called Stand and Deliver Reading Program. It will be getting going because we have to get these kids moving and growing and going. Because right now they are at a disadvantage. They're not learning. They're not getting everything that they need because nobody has the time. Everybody is so busy figuring life out. You're worrying about the wrong thing, the pandemic and whoever's on TV. We can't worry about that. Stay your butt in the house anyway. So sit down with your kids, sit them outside in the front yard, sit them outside in the backyard, sit them somewhere, write down some words. You got flashcards. Okay, fine. You don't got no flashcards? Go find some paper. Find paper and cut it up. I remember when I didn't have flashcards when we were poor. We didn't have that. I made my own flashcards. I just found paper and wrote it down on paper. And then there you go. And you just do it. Good night, everyone. See you next time. Good seeing you again, Shannon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elegant Granny, for being here. I appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Because, yes, at the same time, we're going to get going too. But again, we got Women in Alignment Wednesday, and tonight was just another spinoff of earlier today of being in alignment, how to be in alignment with yourself, with your family, and with people who you interact with. And, being who and what you say you're going to do, make it happen. Because again, bridges can get burned, bridges can happen, but bridges can be mended. So we got to figure out how can we do that for our children? How can we do that with each other? Because there's so much to be done. So thank all of you guys for coming. I appreciate you guys. And you guys have a great evening. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. It is sponsored, the Big Cup Thursday. Appreciate everybody for coming, and you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.